visualize like your skin glowing and it will become glowier over time. Like just really working with the malleability of this reality. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Orphic. My name is Alyssa. I'm an astrophysicist. I have a PhD, and I'm interested in understanding the consciousness of the universe and of astrophysics. So I have been, since my PhD, using my intuition and my own connection with source and spirit and the universe to intuitively understand how spirituality kind of fits into the picture of astrophysics and understand how souls animate celestial bodies and how soul contracts affect the formation of all these celestial bodies as well. So please give me a follow on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram. I work with energy attunements through energy medicine as well as shadow alchemy, so doing shadow work. And I also do spiritual mentorships. The reason for doing what I do and for, showing up on the podcast, speaking on the podcast, mentoring others and showing up in those realms of work that I just mentioned is because it is important to me to be a part of the ripple effect of healing across the planet and to really connect with what that means. I think nowadays people throw out, I'm healing and I'm going to this ceremony and I'm doing the healing, and it's like, with love, it's like, what does it really feel like to actually connect to our hearts and listen to our hearts and move from that space? I'm just taking a moment now to feel into that. Even for myself, I feel like when we learn to connect to our hearts and listen is when the true healing begins of ourselves and across the planet. So, we're moving into a time when the consciousness of the planet is rising, and with that we're in a space of great change. So much change is happening right now. Like, systems are crumbling. We can feel that. And it can be very overwhelming and disorientating for all of us humans that are here. But once we begin to know ourselves, know our hearts begin to lead the way, and we're able to move with clarity and let go of the confusion and let go of the attachments. And, we are all a piece of the puzzle. We all have our divine medicine to share. We are all here to learn how to support one another. And I think that's what true healing means. And also not always constantly be in a state of healing, but how can we learn to regulate, like how can we learn the tools to regulate our nervous systems? And that is like a huge piece of what healing even means, but regulate our nervous system so we're able to come back and check in with ourselves with such clarity and to listen to ourselves, to move forward and to move throughout the world in a different way so that we are open and feel safe to experiencing the states of joy and bliss and happiness that we all really desire to feel. And it's kind of the whole fucking point of this healing work, is so that we can come into a place where we do wake up feeling joyful, and we do wake up feeling gratitude, and we do wake up feeling generous and like we want to connect. And so just moving into that place where we can begin listening to our heart, listening to ourselves of how can I regulate my nervous system? How can I move through this opportunity or this thing that is coming up? What am I learning from it? How is it teaching me? How is it teaching me to grow so I can come out on the other end feeling more happiness, joy, bliss? And what impact does that have in my field? What impact does that have in the quantum field to ripple out and affect everything and everyone around me in a positive way so that they also can experience greater joy and bliss and just pure fun and happiness in their lives? And I think that's what really makes the healing worth it for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah, that was all very nicely said. A nice little transmission you got going there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, want to just do some grounding breaths just to add on to that feeling in your heart.
Yeah.
Tuning into yourself, and let's just do that.
So I'm just going to light a little bit of Palo Santo to just cleanse and clear. And I just ask if you're able to place your feet flat on the ground and close your eyes. And a hand on your heart. Let's connect with our hearts. Let's take a really big, deep cleansing breath in. Filling our lungs all the way to the top. Pausing at the top. And let it go. Big sigh breath out. I'm going to go nice and slow today. Another big deep breath in, filling your lungs all the way to the top. And sip in even more, as much as you can. Pause. Feel into the stillness. Open your mouth and let it go. Deep, cleansing, nourishing breaths. Another deep breath in. Filling your lungs all the way up, up, up. Sip it all the way in as much as you can until you cannot anymore. Pause. Go into the stillness. Feel your heart beating in your chest. Let it go. Just gently bring yourself back into this space.
Okay. Thank you for that. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this episode. It is about the beginning of my journey with mirror work and meeting yourself in the mirror. So please enjoy this, and yeah, thank you. So I just started doing this mirror work course, or I purchased a bunch of master classes from Sister Shanti on Instagram and last year on mirror work, and I am starting a whole journey with that. And then some of the things that she was saying though were so interesting and activating, and like one of the things that she was saying was kind of under the category of how we are a channel and a vessel for the divine to come through us. And you had a lot of stuff around this in your mushroom ceremonies, the one where you're like claiming your own divinity, and then you really felt like a new power in your channel and everything. And she was saying how
being the chosen ones of our own destiny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she was saying how, kind of referring to people thanking her and stuff in the comments on the Zoom or whatever, and saying how she like manages her own ego in this work, and that when people like praise her so much, and this has to do with like putting people on a pedestal and stuff, right? Like when people like say like, oh, thank you so much, like, oh, you changed my life and all these things, like all these amazing things, like she tries to really not take much credit for it. That's kind of what she says. She's like, she appreciates it and everything, but she along the way has learned to really switch the perspective of like, I am just like a vessel of like, God, the universe, source shines through me. Like when I do the work to clear my channel, and when I do this, and when I show up in the mirror, like God shines through us. And she did mention astrology a bit with that too. And if you like kind of go to the visual of as above, so below, and how like the astrology is just an upper reflection that goes down into earth. So it's like it's written in the stars outwardly, and then it shines down inwardly. And so kind of just that visual of like this outer source shining through us, and how that is how she, that is also what gives her the ability to show up and say these really deep, profound things or something, you know, like if she has done this work to really clear her channel, and she really feels like she knows, you know, she wants to say something, or she wants to share something. And she said, if she didn't have that perspective of like separating it, it could easily so feel like it's coming from the ego. Like, oh, I'm here to like share this amazing insight with you that I got and that's mine. And, you know, and that she was like, I couldn't do it if it was that, because it would just feel too weird. And so the way that she thinks about it is she's like, no, like I'm going to show up and share all this profound information that I learned from my mirror work, or that I learned from sitting with myself. But I don't need to feel weird about it, because I'm just a vessel for the divine. And like, I don't even take personal ownership of it too much. And that's kind of how she manages her ego and everything. And that really, like, it really just stuck with me. Just, you know, just sometimes the way that people say something, or just the way that she was talking about it, I feel like was really helpful for me. And the hesitancy to sometimes be like, and you say this all the time, who am I? Like, who am I to show up with this amazing information or whatever, or to like get on a reel and start talking on Instagram, as if you're a god or something. And it's like, you're not, but you are a vessel of that higher divine information or something. And when you can kind of humble yourself, and then even when you're like praised for doing all these things, she's just like, yes, like, thank you, but she really doesn't take it so deeply to heart. And I was like, damn. Yeah. So I liked that. It really kind of got me thinking. It really kind of shifted something in me. I was like, oh yeah. Because then I feel like that gives you permission. I feel like that understanding, or like if you can kind of internalize like what I just said, it gives you really permission to access more like amazing things that are probably waiting for you to access them, because you kind of get like a pass, and you're like, okay, well, it's not, well, in terms of it's, yeah, I mean, it's, you know what I mean? I just blanked out. It's kind of, it gives you more permission to like go after whatever you think is maybe too deep or too profound or something. Or if you want to share, it's like, just it's you don't have to then view it as like, oh, I'm here to like share my amazing wisdom with all of my followers that came from me. It's like, if you can really just kind of switch the perspective on that, like, I'm just showing up to be the messenger or to like be some frequency that's needed. It's definitely pretty
well, it's also
good.
It's a reminder of our interconnectedness as well too, because it's coming from all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, the work she did was meant to find the work that she brought through was meant to find the people that it
Right.
did, because they also reflected a need for it, and
Yeah.
it already, exists in their reality to like bring that in. And
Yeah.
it's just kind of like back to that oneness and how we're all the ocean in a drop,
Yeah, it was like, yes, exactly, because anything that she felt inspired to then say and share is, and she was saying in the beginning of some of these master classes that she was like, oh, I was talking to my guides before I got on and just getting emotional, feeling the power of all the people that I will be activating or turning on this inner fire within them. And then they go and do more things with that. And she was like feeling really emotional at the people that chose this, because then anyone that's listening to this masterclass knows that it's about mirror work, knows it's going to increase your magnetism, knows it's going to be life-changing, and that choosing that is choosing yourself. And so she's like, first off, the fact that anyone that's listening to this, like, has already gotten this far to take this step and to choose yourself in this really intense, amazing, profound way through mirror work. And then also feeling just the power of like igniting other people's fire and what that's gonna do. So yeah, it's like, that's what, she's like, well, it wasn't me. She's like, I had to kind of just start this chain for you guys, for these specific souls that are here to like learn from her process. She's like, I started this up.
And that's where, because we're all one, but we're not the same. Like, we all do have our unique frequency and soul gifts. So then how do we practice that and utilize that? Like, and learn, how do we practice that and learn how to tap into that, to utilize that for the higher good that's much more than us? So part of the tapping into that and learning that is to learn to be that clear channel from source, know what you're tapping into, be that hollow bone to bring in that information through your divine frequency to support others that are also a co-creation of that, because they're asking for it, like, does that
exactly
make sense?
And a lot of the focus of the mirror work stuff is about how it's like, it's guidance, but it's also it's just kind of general guidance, because it's such a personal process, this stuff with a mirror, and what you will discover when you sit with yourself, when you dance with yourself, whatever you're doing in the process. Like, in the mirror, it's such a personal process, because everyone starts at these different points of self-acceptance and self-love. And so that's why
a lot of people don't even look at themselves. Like, they try not to look at themselves in the mirror, right? And they're like avoiding it. So it's a big process. Like, just even getting over that hump of just standing and looking at yourself in the mirror and looking at every part of you, the pieces that you like, the pieces that you don't like, the pieces that you hate.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is really profound, the stuff with the mirror work. And it's very, let me talk for a little bit about just kind of a few of the things that I really that I learned so far about this. It's, the whole concept is really about choosing yourself and about being very, very gentle with yourself and meeting yourself where you are. And some of the people were asking in the chat. It's funny because I can't see the chat in the replay of these master classes. You know, you can never see the Zoom chat, but I'm just going off of what she's saying. But people were like, okay, so how many minutes a day? What's the recipe? Like how often do you have to show up? Like how long do you aim to do it? And she's like, if you treat it like another thing to do, you will eventually resent it. You'll procrastinate it. Yep. You won't do it. It'll be another thing, and you won't do it, and you'll procrastinate it. It'll become like anything else, an obligation.
Yeah, because everything's energy. Everything's a frequency.
Mm-hmm. And so she's like, it's not like that. And I, even for me, like, I completely understand what she's saying, but I didn't even realize how much of a deprogramming you have to do with that to really treat it, because even still I'm like, okay, Alyssa, like we should probably do this every day or something. Like I'm still trying to really peel back because I want to have this as a really authentic experience, and I want to really like feel into the purpose of this, and the purpose of showing up and seeing yourself and meeting yourself in the mirror is choosing yourself. It's not to say that it's not because 30 minutes a day for a month gets you to manifest a divine partner. It's because it's just about the moment. It's just about the moment of choosing yourself. And so she frames it as that, like it's about choosing yourself. So don't view it as an obligation. And that really like changes the energy of it, because then it's like, yeah, it completely shifts like the underlying energy of it. But also a lot of it is, she frames it as really like tending to the inner shadow. And some people had asked about if it's similar to inner child work, but she doesn't really, I guess it would be similar, but she doesn't view it as like the inner child. It's just about, there's some overlap, but it's about being there for yourself, because, yeah. And so she refers to it as the shadow, and it's really about being like very tender and caring with yourself. And the best thing that I thought that she said was, so she was talking about brushing your hair, braiding your hair, like just all these different things, like petting your face, just little things that you can do sitting with yourself. And this, I thought, was one of the coolest things that she was talking about, was how when you sit with yourself, and when you sit and you just take a moment in the mirror and you just like comb your hair and you just like take a moment to give yourself love, she says you are honoring your ancestors, because because your ancestors love you so much, and if they were in the room with you, that's what they would be doing. They would just be sitting with you, and they would be combing your hair, they would be braiding your hair, they would be like hugging you, touching you. And so she says, like, every time you do that and you just take a moment to kind of be with yourself, you're honoring your ancestors, because that's what they would do if they were there with you. And it's also about being very tender with yourself, in the sense that you would think that it's like, okay, like I gotta show, like, let me look in the mirror, and then, okay, so what if there's this part about my body that I don't love? Like, are you supposed to just like sit and force yourself to like love your stomach or something, even if you don't like the way it looks? No, it's very much not about pushing yourself to like, just stand naked in front of the mirror, or to strip down some of your clothes. And it's like, because you would kind of think it would be like that, right? At face value, if you say like mirror work, like, oh, that means looking at yourself in the mirror and deciding that, and just getting to a point where you love yourself regardless of what you're looking like. So if you see something in the mirror that you don't like, to just be like, oh, I love my stomach anyway, even if I don't really. It's not about that at all.
Yeah, well, that doesn't do anything, though, right? Just to be that's just denial.
Right, that's just denial. Right, so then it's like, so where do we go from there? So, right? Like, how do you love yourself if it seems like you don't? And what she talks about is kind of just really taking like baby steps. Like, okay, like, what if I turned this way? Or like, what if I moved my shirt this way? Or like, what if I covered up myself in this way? Like, is that better? Like, is that a little bit better? Oh, okay. Like, oh, if I turn this way, okay, that's a little bit better. Like, all right, I'm comfortable with that. And then kind of just like taking these little micro shifts. And also, yeah, like that's just one example in terms of like things that you can do for things in the category of like being really gentle with yourself and working with your level of comfort. Like, okay, so instead, like, let me move my pants this way. Let me move my shirt this way. Like, okay, that's a little bit better. Okay. And stuff like that. And then she also really emphasizes taking action. So this is, I guess, where like movement comes in a little bit, but it's, yeah, either like massaging your face, or she was talking about, like if you see, I don't like this line on my face, like, oh, I don't like this wrinkle on my face. What are you supposed to do? Just like say, oh, I love you, wrinkle. Like, look in the mirror. Oh, I love you, wrinkle. Like, no, like touch it, like move the energy, so doing things like that so that's, I guess, an example with like the face. Like, there's a lot of, obviously we can move a lot of the energy in the face, and you can kind of visualize these different things, but then also for your body, like moving your stomach. Like, how do you feel strong in it? Like, can you find the strength in it, even if you're not like liking the look of it, or just kind of taking some other movement action. And a lot of it is really focused too on kind of balancing your right and left sides. But yeah, it's kind of just, so that part is interesting too. This stuff about like taking action, because yeah, I mean, like I said, like this is all, it's not exactly what I expected. I'm learning a lot, because that would not have been my guess. Like, I honestly thought that she was gonna say like, eventually you'll learn to love that wrinkle or something like that. Like, I didn't know, but she's really like, no, like, take action and just move things. And it's a practice, and it's something that personal that you develop with yourself, but it's really just
also like, you don't have to force it. Like, maybe through the mirror work, maybe you do learn to like love the wrinkle or love your tummy or whatever, but it's not like forced. It's not just like, oh, like I'm gonna move from not liking it to just looking at myself in the mirror and just saying, oh, like I like you, wrinkle, when like really deep down I don't. But maybe through doing the mirror work and looking at yourself, you realize, well, I actually do. Or maybe move into like neutrality, where you're just like, oh yeah, you're cool, wrinkle, or you do because you understand why it's there and you've like lived this full life or whatever. Or maybe it is just the matter of taking action as well.
Right. And then, over time you get stronger, or things shift, or like I mean, I think we are obviously both agree, like, anything is possible biologically. Like, so much is possible. Like, you can, she said this too a bit in the masterclass, like sometimes after a session or something, if you're in the mirror for a while, like, you'll physically look different than you did when you came in. Like, these things, these things are malleable. Like, we're raising the vibration. These things are not permanent. Magic is real. You can visualize like your skin glowing, and it will become glowier over time. Like, just really working with the malleability of this reality in the mirror, in terms of, just, and really believing that things are malleable, and not because you have to like change yourself, but just because it's just the truth. Things can shift. And once you start seeing yourself differently, then you can literally, you can look different. And obviously Shanti's a good example, and she has all these like before and after pictures, and her face is so much more glowy ever since she started really working with the practice. But it's just such an important thing to keep like track of, because I know the Matrix wants us to just think that you have to do this, that like this all leads to weight loss or whatever. Meanwhile, like like a bunch of it is, and this is obviously just an example, like, and a bunch of it has to do with self-love and like, are you actually loving yourself? And that's going to contribute to whatever your body's doing. So like, we got to remind ourselves that this is all very energetic and malleable, and I think that's kind of a part of the mirror stuff too. It just like, I don't know, shift your energy, shift how you feel about yourself, and see what happens, and then you also will start seeing yourself differently.
Well, yeah, and I think it comes down to like, are we making decisions in love or not? Because like, if we're going on a fad diet or an intense workout just to lose a bunch of weight just because we hate ourselves or hate our bodies, it's like, what kind of energy are you putting into that? And then think of like the work that you have to do. I mean, it's not like it's impossible. You see people that do it, but then you also a lot of the time see them like gain the weight back, or like, not that it's like all about the weight, but like just as an example, you know, like they get so obsessed in this like like not, I'm just not liking themselves, that they kind of like force this change. But if it's not really coming from a vibration of love, how sustainable is it? Because it's not sustainable to stay on a fad diet forever. And it's not sustainable to do intense workouts all the time for forever, right? And there's so many of those like fad diet things out there. Like, and we grew up in the age of that. Like, I think we probably both grew up in the age of our moms are doing some type of, at least I did, doing some type of class, eating some type of food, trying to lose some type of weight. Now, not saying that it's not good to look after your health, and it's not good to lose weight if it feels like that's in your heart to do for your own health. But again, it's like, is it coming from a love frequency, or is it coming from because I hate myself frequency?
Yeah, and it's like, we have to remember too that you can talk to your cells and talk to your body. And so it's like, if you are going to try to start some kind of journey like that, or if someone says that to me now, so that I'm close with, I would be like, well, why don't you also pair that with like a self-love meditation every day or something? Like, pair it with something energetically where you're also trying to shift internally the way that you are viewing yourself, and just your own internal relationship with your body coming from.
But just connect to your body. Like, so many people are disconnected from their bodies. So what does my body want? What type of exercise does my body want? Tune into the heart. What does it want? I want to do HIIT training. Maybe not. I want to do swimming. It's a little easier on the body. I want to do walking. Like, but again, we get ourselves in these like things where we tell ourselves, well, we have to do the most intense thing for it to work or for it to be good. What about food? Like intuitive eating. Like, intuitive eating is a thing. It's not a diet. It's not like a fad diet. It's not like something to lose weight in 3 months. It's just, it's a lifestyle. So what does intuitive eating look like? Well, for me, it looks like I avoid gluten because my system doesn't agree with gluten, and it really hurts my stomach. And what does it look like? Oh, lately it's been, I need to avoid dairy. That's not going to look the same for everyone else. So also, whole foods, fruits and vegetables, like that's what intuitively feels good for me. And that might not be the same for other people. Some people need cooked food. Some people need raw food, you know? Yeah. What were you saying?
I don't know.
But that's tuning into the love again, because like, if you connect to your body and your body says, well, I want, I don't want that candy tonight. And like, when you're eating something out of a place of, I don't know, like shame eating is like such a thing, or like guilt eating, or just like, I did this when I was younger. Like I would get sad or wasn't feeling the best, and I would just give myself a pass, which was a pass all the time, to basically like smoke a lot of cannabis and put on a shitty reality TV show that I was obsessed with, or it could be like whatever, but I really liked those ones. And then I'd go get myself a poutine and snacks and candy, and it was not unheard of for me at that time to eat a pint of ice cream to myself, if not more. And I would eat so much that my stomach, it felt full, but I would get so stoned that I couldn't feel the pain in my stomach. And then as I started to sober up again, I could feel how full and painful my stomach felt. And then I was like,
I was
fuck,
just there
that
last
sucks.
week.
Huh?
I said, yeah, that was me last week.
Well,
but yes,
yeah,
no.
but I used to do that, and then I'd be so full, and then I would just get more baked to just take away the pain of that. And then like I just had to, in my life at some point, just get to a point where I'm just like, what am I doing to myself? Like my body hates this. Yeah. Like I'm just completely disconnecting myself from her, and she fucking hates it. And not to say like it's never okay to have the ice cream or to have the whatever, because it's about balance.
Well, it depends on how you're feeling about yourself. So that is like a perfect segue into what I was gonna say. Like, okay, so the mirror work stuff, I started listening to the masterclass on like a Friday, and I started doing some of the stuff in the mirror, and I started like feeling really activated by it and getting so excited. And I was like, this is great. And I, like we said, everyone starts at a different place with their ability to look at themselves in the mirror or be with themselves in the mirror. Like for the most part, like I don't really think I have that much resistance to it. Like maybe a bit more with like the whole like full body or needing to like really love everything or something like that. But so I was like, oh, okay, like I won't really have a problem. And then I happened to be in a really good headspace that day, So then I was like, oh, I won't have a problem. Like, I was like, I'm not going to ever have like resistance where like I like look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I don't want to be looking at myself. And then the next few days I was feeling not good about myself, and I was in a low point, and I felt like I had gone back to some things, and I felt like I was repeating patterns, and I didn't really like what I was doing. And then it translated into then I wasn't looking the best that day, or then I didn't like the way my face looked as much that day. And then later in that night I was like, okay, let me like try it. And like, this was just the day or two after I had started the course and started really thinking about it. And then I was in the mirror and I was like, I feel a lot of resistance right now. And here I was like 2 days ago, like I love looking at myself, like, oh, it's easy. Like I can show up in the mirror and like, I'm not going to be super triggered. Like I'm just going to go in and activate and figure out like all these secrets of consciousness, like in the mirror, like, yeah, it'll be so fun. And then 2 days later, I'm feeling like in a really low point, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I am not enjoying looking at myself. And it's like, crazy. When I don't like myself, I am gonna feel uncomfortable looking at myself when I'm in old patterns, when I'm not pleased, when I'm not keeping promises to myself. I'm not going to like looking at myself in the mirror. And I was like, oh shit, this really started kicking into gear like ASAP right after I like opened the door. The way that I see it is once I started listening to the course, and once I really started, I was like, I opened a door to a new timeline. Now I'm on the mirror work timeline. I'm on the timeline where I unravel some new things in my life through this practice. And then second day, that's like what I got slammed in the face with. I was like, oh shit, I don't like looking at myself when I don't like what I'm doing. And I don't think I had realized that much, because I had never been in that much of a position to be like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch and like I don't feel good about myself or something. But in that time, I never think that I should look in the mirror. And then when I do, I'm like, shit, I feel resistance to this. So That's why it's a powerful practice, because it'll really just show you exactly what's up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a necessary process, and I'm sure I'll have other times where I don't maybe feel comfortable with what I'm looking at, but that's why it's a practice and choosing yourself. But yeah, it's just about being there for yourself. And she really kind of emphasized, like, once you do this work, you really begin to internalize that you're never alone. You know, you were never alone, and you never have to feel lonely again, because like you will always have yourself. It was like really intense when she was saying that, and I got really emotional listening to her say that as part of the first class that I listened to. Yeah, so it's a journey, but I am excited to continue and see where it goes, because yeah,
It's building a deeper connection with self and with your body.
Yeah, and I just feel like it definitely just goes to show that there's always room for blind spots, or to anyone listening to this, like, you might think like, oh, I'm fine looking in the mirror, like I'm confident enough or whatever, but then you might be surprised by maybe there aren't things that you like, or maybe it is more triggering than you expect. But that is the point of it, to kind of bring you into growth. That's going to be it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to give us a rating, and please leave a review wherever you are subscribed, Apple or Spotify. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube at the Orphic Podcast. Please follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics, Mikayla at Mariposa Moonchild, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.